Hi there, my name's Pete Daykin and I'm CEO of Wordnerds. Wordnerds is the world's second best text analytics platform, and we help some of the world's largest and best organizations and some of the smaller ones as well, both public sector and private, understand, act on, and get value from all of the different text sources they have in their business. When we first meet people, we like to talk to them about the Qual Data Journey. The Qual Data Journey is basically a curve, and everybody's at a different point on it, but they fall vaguely into one of four categories. At the bottom end of the curve, what are you doing with your text that's coming into your business? Are you doing anything at all with them? Very few people are doing nothing with their text data as a business now. However, we do still find that within large organizations, departments are further on than others, and some departments are very, very good at analyzing text data, and some departments really aren't. So have a little think. If your business or your department isn't doing anything with the text channels that they have access to, then really it might be time to do something. The reason people don't is because the next step is hard. Usually the first route into doing something meaningful with text data is manual coding. And manual coding is clearly when you get a bunch of text data, whatever that is, customer complaints, customer contacts, reviews, and a human being has to read them and go, this is a problem about pricing, this is a problem about customer support, and this is a problem about product design, and basically put a category on them so you can count them up and see how many problems you've got in each of the categories. As you can imagine, it's a really, really slow process. Because it's slow and it involves human beings, it's really expensive. And the big problem with it is it's unreliable. It's very subjective. Humans bring a bunch of biases to it. Often people are looking for something in the data that confirms their previously held position. And there's a great article on our blog about how the further you go from lunchtime, the less reliable human marked data gets, and all kinds of reasons for that, including things like the fact that two humans often will disagree on whether one person is really upset or slightly upset, and that delta increases as people get hungrier and more tired. So that's manual coding. It's better than doing nothing, but it's not much fun. And in every single case that we've ever seen, the input that you have to put into it far outweighs the quality of the insight that you get out of it. Happily, most people we meet these days are in the third category, the green category, and that's what we call siloed systems. In this category, you're doing some text analytics. Most likely different departments are looking at different channels and using different tools. So for example, your social team might be using something like Brandwatch to manage your social channels. Your customer experience team might be using a platform like Medallia to capture SMS feedback, to pull in data from a CRM system, etc. And maybe your HR department is using Qualtrics to survey your staff, or your data team is using Qualtrics to ping out a survey when somebody checks out your e-commerce process. These are all wonderful bits of software, and they're all great at doing frontline stuff. So your frontline team using Brandwatch to manage your social channels, to interact with customers at that front line, to manage marketing campaigns and see how many likes and how many eyeballs they got, how much reach they got, how many people reacted to it, all that kind of stuff. It's great at quant data. These tools are brilliant at gathering the data, putting numbers on the big interactions, and giving your frontline teams a way of organizing a workflow and reacting to people. What none of them are good at, though, because what none of them were built for, is analyzing text. And the text analytics that you get with these platforms is pretty rudimentary. It's word clouds, it's abstracted sentiment scores. This person's a 72, this person's a 3. Without knowing which bit's a 72 and which bit's a 3, that's completely useless, because that person might say, hey, your customer service was great, but I still haven't had my order, and that's 3 weeks now, and I've missed the person whose birthday it was that I bought it for. There's positive and negative in that sentence. and you need to be able to separate them and understand them severally, not just say this person is a 65. And as well as that, you tend to find that if different departments are using different data sources, and they're using different tools to examine those different data sources, then that data becomes siloed. Other people in the organization that could usefully do something with that information they don't get that information. It often stays within those departments. And even when they do, they're getting conflicting advice from conflicting people because everybody's using a different methodology. The sentiment analysis on one platform is different to the sentiment analysis on the other. The way that people measure a category on one is different to the other. So there's no central methodology. It's all different and it stays in those departments. Additionally, the second problem with text analytics is it tends to be reactive. It tends to be a situation where you have to train either a piece of AI or more often the taxonomy to listen for a specific thing. And when that comes in, it will say, yes, that's one, and it will mark it. The problem with that is often you just want to see what the data will bear. There's new stuff in your data that you didn't know what there was going to be there. And you want to be able to highlight that as it comes through, regardless of what it is, without having to train anything in advance, and then follow that data through to really interrogate it to find out what the cause is behind it so that you can act. And word clouds, sentiment scores on their own, they're not going to give you that information. So siloed systems, it's good, it's better than manual coding, it's certainly cheaper. But the results and the outputs, they're patchy, they're largely unactionable, and there's not a lot you can do with them. Where we get to with our customers is the fourth segment, the super green segment. And that we call it central voice of customer. It could be central voice of employee as well. But in the fourth segment, in the super green segment, you create a single, centralized, democratized view of the data where decision makers in the business know they can come to one place to see all of the different text data sources and take action from it. In that area, we allow them to do two things. We allow them to highlight just what the data will bear, those unknown unknowns, see the surprises, and just see what's coming up in the data. That could be the stuff that's changing the fastest. It could be the stuff that's driving the most positive and negative sentiment. It could be anything that you any way that you want to break it down. You can bring your own questions, your own hypotheses to it, and without knowing anything in the data, you can just see what's there. Once you've done that, when you've seen something in the data that actually we think this is interesting, we want to know more about that, we let you go down the rabbit hole. So we let you dig deep yourselves into a category by setting up your own monitoring, AI supported context themes where anybody saying anything that you care about can be detected, even when they're using wildly different language. Again, we've got other videos on this website that tell you how we do this. There's a video about third level insight. Go and have a look at it. It's really, really interesting. It shows you how we go below the level that most other text analytics tools can get to, and get to the level at which we believe you need to get to know what action to take from that information. And that's crucial, right? Because unless you get to that depth where you know that there is a problem and you know what's causing the problem and how many people are suffering from it and how important it is relative to others and what to do about it, crucially, insight is only ever going to be insight for insight's sake. And you're never going to turn that into action and ultimately improvements for your business in terms of either additional money made or money saved. So that's the qualitative data journey. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you found something interesting or useful in that few minutes. We hope you've placed yourself somewhere on that curve. And if, having done that, you're at all dissatisfied with where you are or curious about how you can get further along that curve and into the super green segment, then you know where we are. We would absolutely love to talk. Thank you so much for your time.